Good evening. How's my people rocking? Hope well. Tonight let's talk about woke versus awake. Let's see how everybody is doing on their journey, and let's just do a catch up. Let's see what's really happening in the minds of the people. When you know what's happening in the minds of your fellow brothers and sisters, you have a better gist on clarity, on love, on taking things in stride. So I'm just inviting a few people. Share this out. Rock out with me. Understand that a journey of infinite intelligence is responsibility. And although there are many individualities that are plugging from a central board, we use what we do for good. And that's the difference. So let me see what's happening here. Okay, let me just invite a few more people, and then we could rock out. So how you all doing? I hope you are doing great. We're going to talk about a few things tonight. We're going to speak about woke versus awake. We're going to talk about generalities. We're going to talk about what changes you in the process of the journey and why the human being is stuck in a cycle that doesn't allow growth. And for me personally, I feel that why we are stuck is because we have tunnel vision. You're on a journey that you're awakening to infinite intelligence, and infinite intelligence is a responsibility because we use this energy for the movement of good. We also understand that energy is formless, and when people use the energy other than for the goodness of humanity, there are many hiccups that happen. So you're woke. I keep hearing woke for months. I'm like, wow. Are they comparing their woke stage to the awakened stage? And there's a total difference. Because if you look at the people that are advocating the woke society, they're in a chaotic stage. And it's almost a disservice for the people who are awakened or on a pure and true spiritual journey, and they're facing their challenges and what really happens in transformation. I consider myself an awakened person, not a woke person, because I feel that the woke people, they are following a crowd that has no value system. And I think that's really what's wrong with society. As an awakened person uses infinite intelligence and gets to understand the inner God, the teachings of the law, because it's a law, whether you say it comes from the Christ consciousness or the Vedic text or the Gnostic text or Islamic text. It is an inner awakening that happens to an individual where they are evolving. They are using their intelligence, they're using the forces of nature. They understand there is challenges on earth, but they are living their best life. They're not lip syncing their best life. And listen, we've all been there. And I think at this particular era in time, when you are truly on this path and you are exuding love and you understand that there is going to be challenges and you understand why there's stagnation, you should be able to have a discussion. You don't have to agree, but you should understand one another and you should be able to continue on. And I see the same scenarios constantly happening in a community where, although people claim they are awake, they're still placing blame. Although people are moving forward, they're still encountering challenges, and this planet is a challenging planet. So there's many things that are happening now. There's Wade versus Roe, and I don't want to get into Wade versus Roe in a specific term. I want to just use that as one example that's happening throughout humanity and the crisis that we are facing. When you have a situation like this, which this situation affects mankind through the political system, through their everyday life, through their financial aspects of life, through how they are overcoming trauma, the psychoanalyst of the mind, because you are a psychoanalyst of your own mind. There's a general streamline that you should go by. When you're dealing with a delicate situation where people have their points of view, where there's validation on both sides, and it's not either or because it's moral and it's emotional, there has to be give and take on both sides if you want any type of solution to follow through. And I use that analogy because this is what we are facing as a collective conscious people. We use that word collective conscious a lot, right? And I always had a problem with we are one and we are part of a society that is for the inner good and there's oneness. And I went deep the last 2.5 years, and I went into exploration that leads me to who I am today. And when I discovered that we are part of the spark and we are one, gives us the opportunity to draw on the God guidance, the inner guidance, right? To use this energy for good. I understood the difference between the plug board, because you are part of the plug board. You are part of the divine spark. What you do with it is entirely up to you. So I am one where I plug in to that divine consciousness, but I am an individual with unique traits. And I don't sugarcoat what's happening in the world because I use my divine guidance to walk in this world, to live an everyday life, to be a person that learned from her mistakes, right? Because we all have mistakes, right? To understand what unconditional love is and true forgiveness is, and to understand why many of us are still faltering because we are caught up in the dilemma of doubt and fear somewhere along the line. So I use Wade and Roe as an example. Is it Roe or is it Roe? Excuse me. As an example, because it's a general streamline that faces mankind. Only you could answer those questions, and only you can make the choice what you're going to do with your body, because you should have a choice, right? You should have a choice what you're doing with your spiritual life. You should have a choice what you're doing with your everyday life. But if you're woke and you have no value system, and you are still participating in what I call the nature of shit in a handbasket, right? You have a serious issue within self because you are lost in self. So we could talk about mirrors, and I'm a mirror of you and you're a mirror of me, but that's for those individuals to believe that. I'm a mirror of my reflection, and I understand what my dark side is inside, because those are the very traumas that I transformed. I understand that things happen to people, and that through a process of abuse, fear sets in, and we want to let it go so we could understand our purpose. I also understand there's a lot of blame game going on, and that's sometimes due to ignorance because we don't know any better. But there comes a time you have to stand up, and you have to understand there is a difference between woke and awakened. There is an infinite intelligent mind, and some people in that quest to find it, they go on many different roads and they search. But I also can tell you, when you transform, you can discuss with anybody past events, future visions, the present moment you're living in. And when you draw on this divine energy, things happen because you don't question, because this is where trust and faith. So we go through cycles with infinite intelligence, and that's why we go into racial suggestions, because that's the cultural imprints that we have. We then go to the treatments and the demonstrations. We actually go into the faith and the trust and what forgiveness is and what boundaries are. We go to into the psychoanalyst of self, and there's a lot of people who want to empower other people. But you have to also understand that this is discussion and this is open field, and no one can find the inner God but you. But there is a map to it, and it's out there, and there is love, and there is forgiveness, and there is boundaries, and there is an understanding of this energy, which is responsibility, because this energy is possible. And why there is an evil that encroaches mankind, it's not because the boogeyman is going to jump out, although we do have our own boogeymans, each and every one of us, right? Boogeyman, I said, or bigger man, I should say boogeymen, right? And that's because that's our inner consciousness. But really, the energy forms the way it's directed. So it's not personal. And if love is the key, the energy is directing you to use it every day. Not be a Budinsky, not believe you're a know-it-all, not lip sync this, not use the tools in between to misguide people. And look, I get it. When we're starting out, when we think we know it all, when we understand that there is a universal force, we are one, is exposed into a smorgasbord that doesn't do humanity good. Because when you're rocking in the oneness, and when you're rocking in the good, and you're learning something every day, you are evolving and you are making sense. So you see a lot of people with entertaining sources, or a lot of people who are really down and out, or a lot of people who are lost, or a lot of people who are getting it, but to discuss it, it's difficult because we like to gloss over things. And then you make a decision with this, and you say, I could speak intelligently about we are one. I can understand what the tests are and how we have used our minds to degrade ourselves. Isn't it true? Just as easily as you have fear and you have doubt and you have a lack of substance in self, it's because that's how our brains have been trained. So if you were going into infinite intelligence, if you were changing, if you understand forgiveness, if you understand talking in very directly is part of life, because you are meant to live a life on this planet, then you can understand that there's a lot of complexities. And if you step away from the complexities and you do routines, like you talk yourself into something, right? Or because you have to believe it, it then will come naturally to you. And what falls away is your fear. What falls away is hatred. What is established is love and doing the right thing. You see, leadership is not leadership if the people are in bondage. And the human experiment, or the human godlike attributes, or your connection with God, or your connection with the infinite mind, you could say it however you want it, but each human being has this radar that goes off, that searches for a divineness, a divine line that saves them. And as you search for this divine line, you understand that a reality happens inside of you, and you work it every day. So I'm not here to preach to you the rawness that bad behavior contributes to. We all know that because we all are turning our own bad behaviors around. I'm here to tell you that if you are an awakened person versus a woke person, you already know how to step. You already know that half of that nonsense is just that nonsense. And as you live in love, you're better every day. And love does not mean foolishness. And it does not mean you don't stand your ground, and it does not mean you don't discuss things as you are walking this planet. But it does mean like you're connecting, like I'm going to turn the camera around a minute. Just like you see how you're connecting with everything out here. You're bringing it to life, and life is coming to you. And the nature of civilization, because you are in civilization, right? That helps you in stepping forward. You know what's up, Mama Jody? Life is up. Changing is up. Being there in authenticity is up. Understanding we all falter. To really discuss it. To be rockin' mamas and warriors. To turn around and say, you know what? We all fucked up. We all fucked up. Stop it, right? But we are a nation of people through our evolution process that could rise together, and y'all can rise together, and we can rise together. Stop worrying about who likes you, who don't like you, who's in it for what. True authenticity withstands all that nonsense. True forgiveness means that you don't use that nonsense to say, I forgive you, but that's close in my space. Some of your loved ones fuck up. You forgive them and you pick up. And what you can't pick up, you don't let that eat you up. This is life. You are participating in a thing called life. Don't you want to have happiness? Don't you want to step away from fear? Aren't you eager to find out what your life purpose is? To understand? To actually say, hey, wait a minute, that's not what awakened is. You woke to what? Anything goes, and your volume system is in a handbasket? Listen up. When you're awake, your volume system goes way up because you understand where you started from. You understand the depths of the soul, the demon within, shadow work. There comes a time you leave the shadow work behind and say, okay, shadow work, I get you. Call on you when I need to remember things. I never forget where I come from. This is a responsibility. But now I'm practicing things like loving myself or understanding myself, or having true forgiveness, calling on the divine energy to uplift myself, dealing with the challenges that I face every day, knowing that it's going to be all right. Isn't that what we all want? So why are we lying about it? Because we all are in search of an instantaneous fix. Then we all lie at one point or another to ourselves. That's just a fact. So each and every day what happens is an awakened person understands their relationship with infinite intelligence, understands what is needed to instantaneously heal themselves. I said instantaneously because as you get better and better at it, it does become instantaneously. Other things we work on a more daily basis, and those are the slower processes, you know? But I think this discussion is needed because if you see everybody has the answers, who really has the answers? We only have the answers when we put the guard down and we really talk about our afflictions. And know that love does exist and goodness does exist. And you can draw off that energy in chaotic times and walk with the God that's next to you. And you definitely will be protected. And good things will definitely happen. And you know what? You get through it. And it's not the way you might have visualized it, but that's when visualization goes out and divine trust comes in, because you are putting your burdens on the divine to take care of it, because you understand infinite intelligence in yourself will create the way, and goodness will come, and you're okay, and you can live in the now. So yeah, I rock and roll it that way, and I'm not a woke person, I'm an awakened person. I have values. I understand there's many challenges on this planet. As a spiritual person, I don't shy away from it, and neither am I afraid of it anymore, because I walk with the divine guidance, and I have setbacks and I reset, but I don't live in a fantasy world that does not bring good to humanity, because those fantasies that we are diving into, because in our quest for we are one, we are creating our own illusions, that don't have to be either. It really doesn't. Because what happens is that you end up growing, and you can attest to many, many things that do happen as you are being honest and open and still rocking it. Stop saying, oh, that person, is very straight out and she's a bitch or he's a prick and all that stuff. Know that who the bitches are and who the pricks are, and just be understanding that someone or a cluster of people have the courage to go into mind strength and to help and to share with our fellow human beings. Because sometimes we are so ashamed of what humans have become that we want to be something else in order to turn around and forget what our role is on this planet. It really doesn't have to be that way. I have a lot of fun doing it, and there'll be, you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll go through all kinds of things, but you'll understand infinite mind, and ain't nobody can rock you. And that's why they buckle at their knees, because really we are the people that the people have. Not too many people could really say that, because you know what? As you're opening up, you realize the realities of life. And I say you could rock it. I'm in your corner. I'm totally in your corner. I'm totally could attest to the process. I could tell you that there's many things that are going to happen in that process. It'll be cool. You'll work it out. We all make mistakes. We all are inappropriate at times. But we all also amazing, right? So that's right. We still live in the 3D matrix. That's right. And you have to shine your light when you live in. You're entitled to it, Faith. That's the whole thing. That's a great point. I'm squinting a little bit. I don't have my glasses readily available. But you're right. You live in a 3D matrix that could be incredibly beautiful. It's our birthright to have everything we want, and our mind is our inner sanctuary that connects with God. That's why the kingdom is in you. Everybody's running out when it's in. But anyway, I thought I'd just, come on and just chat and just go into a little bit what we as a people are facing and all that other stuff. It really is the truth. You'll have to make decisions. Only you can answer certain things for yourself. The healing comes from within, is the divine guidance. And as you step, all that former stuff does fall away. So you want to be part of that nonsense. And you don't have to be. Peace out, guys.